Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Christoph and this is Helder.
Hi everyone, welcome.
Helder, what are you going to talk about today?
So today we're going to talk a bit about hybrid architecture. Sounds like a mouthful, but it's something actually quite straightforward. A lot of people are actually using it, but you don't really realize you're using it. So let's see how enterprises are actually coping with cloud and on-premise and legacy, and how everything can come together into a nicely wrapped package for you.
Cool, let's dive into it.
Okay, so putting here a little bit of a presentation for you guys. So we're going to talk about how we can, definitely Neptune can be an accelerator, a transformation agent within any enterprise in order to survive the cloud, survive the software as a service marketplace, and see how can we leverage on actually what they offer to the enterprise. So in terms of what are the problems of any enterprise, is that you have a biggest challenge is to integrate the data and make it available to their actually employees. And average, according to Forrest and Gardner, the average company runs about 500 different applications in their entire business. So if you count on this, the actual companies that still have some processes that are actually on pen and paper, you can imagine how hard is it to deliver to an end user something when you have a fragmented landscape, plus you have pen and paper, emails, phone calls, etc. You would imagine the amount of companies that we meet that are still struggling with that. So when you talk about digital transformation, it sounds something that is really far away, but it's something that definitely Neptune can help with.
Yeah, it's true. Just think about yourself. How many systems did you log on to just today, right? And then you probably put your notes still on paper, and all this mixture leads to a fragmented landscape, and IT and the end user has to deal with it, right?
Yeah, and in fact, 25% of the time of an average day, the employee is trying to figure out where he should log on to do what. So that's today's problem, is that everyone went from having a looking for the best of breed of applications to deliver into then moving into monolithical gigantic systems that are hard to run, hard to upgrade, and expensive to maintain. And we're going now into a reality with cloud and with cloud services where you can actually go back to the best of breed. So how does this all look when we are thinking about future? Right. So what is the future? How can it actually look like? So the way we see it, and we see this on an average day with our customers, and we see this from every single size, from enterprise grade enterprises that are extremely big, and we work with some that are actually on the top 10 of the Fortune 500 companies, and the way they operate is using a multiple cloud environment. So they have their legacy systems, they have their on-premise systems, they have different cloud runtimes and with different software as a service solutions that they use. So where do we see this all go towards?
Yeah, and it's the thing is that if companies would not consider multi-cloud, right, then they would be locked into the same providers and the same issues that they're experiencing today and in the past on-prem, right? So regarding flexibility, regarding future-proof, you want to look at multi-cloud environments in order to be flexible. We don't know what happens in 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. We don't know what will be the biggest player in the cloud next year. What will be the best provider for AI, for IoT, for blockchain? So this world is constantly moving. So the way that all the enterprises are kind of being targeted towards is to bet on services and bet on systems and tools that allows them to consume a service today and be able to shift from that service provider to another service provider when they want to. So it's not about just which cloud do you use to host, it's about which service do you use to do each functionality. Chatbot, which chatbot engine should you use? Which one has the best capabilities for machine learning? So this is a constant evolving theme and marketplace that is extremely or impossible to figure out what's coming next. So in order to be prepared, you need the right tools, and the right tools grant you an opportunity to use the best of breed, and that's what you should be looking for.
Exactly. And at the same time, you need to keep your existing systems running, right? So let's have a look at that.
Exactly. So on your typical enterprise landscape, what you're going to have on one side, you're going to have on-premise systems that have different functionalities, different processes. In the center, you have the user that has to use them on a daily basis. And then you have all of the other cloud-based solutions. And we just added here some of the biggest players in that market space. What are these solutions actually? So if you go from the on-prem, you're going to have ERP systems, you're going to have CRM, you're going to have legacy systems that are core of your digital, part of your digital core, I might say. And then you have all of the software as a service solutions that actually we use without even realizing we're using so. I would say like Office 365, Gmail, Facebook, or Workplace, or Yammer, or all of the other different softwares that are cloud-based that we use on an average daily basis. And then they are powered by AI, machine learning, blockchain, and some of these things are so incorporated into our daily lives as private persons that we are so used to it that we can't live without it in a way.
Yeah. And that's just as is, right? I mean, if you look at the future, if you look at concepts, for example, like Leonardo from SAP, right? The amount of cloud-based applications, services, innovation in general will increase drastically. Right?
Yeah, of course. And it's all about what is the tool that enables me to be in a good position to harness all of this cloud power, and at the same time provide me a stability so that I can continuously operate my digital core using onboarding what some might say is disruptive technology, some of the ones that are in the slide now, while keeping everything running smoothly. And that's important because in the end, your IT is to support your business. So if IT fails, your business might fail. And we have seen some examples in the past on that. So having that said, if you think that you're not going to bet on one cloud provider, you're probably going to use services from different cloud providers. And some of these, for instance, software as a service solutions have their own platforms, have their own marketplace, have their own clouds. If you take that in consideration, what you're going to see is that you're going to have multiple clouds and multiple services. And this will be operated primarily by an API. So this is a world that's directly driven by API. It's an API first world. And that's where Neptune is positioning. Right. Our positioning is to be an agnostic, rapid mobile application development platform that can incorporate any API from any system. What you're going to have is primarily a unique way to develop on top of these APIs, to orchestrate these APIs even. So you have ability to have a completely API lifecycle, so you can recreate your APIs. You can get this infinite number of APIs and combine them so that you're providing a smaller subset of APIs that are your business. So that in the future, today you're using for CRM a specific solution and you go for another one, your API that is transposed for your vendors, for your customers, for your employees will actually be the same. And when I say API, I say that's the services, the microservice that you're going to use on applications. So that provides you a layer of stability, regardless of whatever you have underneath, because this is a continuous evolving world.
Right. And I mean, of course, we're talking about a platform, and central IT needs such a platform to stay on top of the complexity that is even rising with the multiple cloud environment. But again, the ultimate goal is that the users are happy, right? Let's not forget that the users in the middle of this picture, and how many systems are we going to log on in the future?
Well, it's more than SSO, and everyone struggles getting their SSO correctly done, because you need to be able to incorporate and encompass so many different systems and APIs, and you need a layer that allows you to have a security. So you have your two-factor authentication, your LDAP, your SAML2, your identity providers or certificate-based providers actually, that guarantees you that the users are authenticated correctly in the right way. But you need an underlying API hub proxy so that you can have different security settings according to each requirements of each API. And that we can do very easily. We have done that quite substantially with our cloud-based component, and which is also not only cloud-based, basically.
Okay.
It's a containerized component that enables agnostically to run anywhere and consume and expose data to anything. It's pretty generic, but that's actually what it is. It's pretty generic. So what can we do for you? So our product puts your business processes and applications and users in the center. Whatever you decided to run it on, it's completely up to you. Our solution is a SaaS solution, therefore you're going to host it and secure it the way you want it to be done. We will not impose any rules. So we can run on an IoT gateway running Linux. We can run on a Linux server on-prem. We can run on a container in the Kubernetes or Docker, to say the biggest ones, most used ones. And then you can have a multiple cloud. You can run it on just one cloud. And further on this webinar, we're going to see some actual interesting business scenarios where we are helping customers today to implement this kind of situation. So in a recap, any system, any application using any API. Also, of course, consuming on any device. That's also a given. So desktop, mobile, PWAs, progressive web apps, out of the box.
On one platform, connectable to our existing SSO. Pretty cool.
Exactly. So you can do data orchestration, message orchestration. You can do API lifecycle, application lifecycle for iOS, Android, and Windows 10. Plus, you can do progressive web applications out of the box, and the abilities that you will build on a unified UI. Even now on our roadmap, actually, we are opening to any UI tip. So that will come soon as well. And this can then be consumed on any way you want. So we have a customer actually in Germany that's actually using augmented reality to for their plant maintenance technicians, I believe, to interact and read, take notes, and it's quite an interesting use case. But it's a device-based use case, so it's again, consume it anywhere, build it once, consume it anywhere.
Okay, but how does it fit into different architectures, hybrid architectures?
Yeah, so let's look at some architecture scenarios. So that's pretty fluffy stuff, but it's quite useful to understand the big picture, because this is a lot about big picture. It's about a tool that will enable you for digital transformation. Cannot be something that is taken lightly. It's something that is a strategic tool for any company, regardless of the size. What our product enables is that from big companies to small companies to very small companies, you're able to leverage on your existing setup. So we are actually not replacing nothing on the first stage. I think as an initial usage of our platform, and we have some good experience with that, is that you are actually connecting the dots. You are the membrane.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's a membrane. You get rid of all the arrows, bidirectional interfaces between two systems, and you create a membrane around your landscape. And from our talks to different companies and customers, we basically see 3 different types of scenarios, right?
Exactly.
How you can leverage our platform in different styles of architecture.
So let's start with this one. So multiple clouds, hosted, our solution on cloud, and that means any cloud. Uh, with this, you have the ability through the API channels to be able to incorporate different cloud providers and services, and as well as on-premise systems into that cloud. This will work as a proxy again. This will work as a process flow orchestration, so you actually can build your process flows across different APIs, across your entire landscape. So this can then be exposed as an API in itself to be consumed and to be interacted with your logic, your way to see your process, regardless of whatever you have today or tomorrow within your landscape.
Okay, so I can connect the platform to my digital core, which might be still on premise, right?
Yeah.
And then also plug in any cloud services, basically.
Yeah, and here the option, what will vary on these scenarios, the open architecture one, is that this one you're gonna host it on cloud, but of course you can do the same by hosting on-prem. There is not a difference, it's the same product. We even have a tool that allows you to deploy resources, the applications, the APIs, the tables, everything that you're gonna create within the product, you can take that and deploy it to another runtime. And that runtime can be on-premise, can be in the cloud. So you're not ready to go cloud, not a problem. Host it on-prem. When you're ready, you can just take it there. Exactly in the same way. We have the tools, we have the experience, and this is out-of-the-box functionality for us.
Okay, so instead of locking you in, your central platform is going to give you more flexibility. That's basically at the core of this.
Exactly, and that will be actually given on the 3 main takeaways that we're going to have at the end, is that we're going to tell you exactly why you should consider Neptune software and why you should look definitely into our product. So you can also have a mixed scenario, of course. There is nothing that you shouldn't do here. Why would you have this? That's a question actually that we spoke about before. Why would you have this? Very simply, you will have this because if you are a big company that have different silos, different organizations within the organization, they will primarily run different systems. That's normal. These systems, they could be systems where it makes sense to have a runtime that runs on premise, and some other processes might make sense to have a runtime that runs on a cloud, on any cloud. Right. So having that said, it's basically so open architecture that you can actually design it on a pen and paper. You can say exactly where you want to place it. It's the building block within your organization to leverage on your existing setup, connecting the dots, being the membrane between your different processes. What you're going to get is that you're going to unify the way that you are orchestrating this data and these processes, as well as you are offering this as a UI, as a visualization layer to your end users. And that means dashboards, that means analytics, that means actually simple going from a dashboard where you visualize your data to actually take action directly on the system where that data is coming from, or systems, in a seamless way, so that the end user is basically doing their job. And that's the simple thing about this. They don't need to be trained. They don't need to be onboarded. They will see their job, their tasks directly the way they recognize it, regardless of whatever you have on your landscape to do the job today or tomorrow.
Yeah, right. And bottom line is, this is hybrid architecture as we see it, right?
Exactly.
You have the full flexibility, and your platform, your central platform, can be distributed on-prem, some can be on cloud, and the different instances, the entities of our Neptune DX platform, they talk to each other, right? So we're not just consuming APIs, we're also putting the data out there for other instances of Neptune or third-party systems or native apps to consume the data.
Exactly. So you don't want to use our tool to build the UI? Of course, you can use any tool you want to build the UI. That's how open it is. You can just use it as a way to orchestrate and to build modular services that can be reused and encapsulated into each other, so that you can provide it as a service, as a REST API with Swagger on top, build native, build hybrid, any tool you want.
Again, become flexible.
Exactly. But if you want to use our great application designer and the application lifecycle, you can also do that, of course.
So where does this flexibility come from?
So the flexibility comes from that why should you integrate with a cloud or with an on-premise system when you can run inside that same system? What are the advantages? So a lot of our competitors are adapting to this reality by creating containerized their solutions into containers. Well, we were born with the DNA of living inside a container. So instead of having to adapt our technology to be able to be leveraging the container technology, we are actually born within. So in that sense, we have such a huge advantage over our competitors to do this, that we are faster, we are better performance, easier processes, easier deployment, anything can be achieved. And yes, the container can run on all of these clouds and more, but what if I don't want to use a cloud? What if I want to use an on-premise system? Well, the same container can actually be used on-premise.
Right. So it's a container-first strategy, basically. No matter if you prefer Docker, Kubernetes, or the Cloud Foundry project, Neptune, DX platform was designed for these kind of containers.
And if you want to use a different cloud provider around it, if you want to host it on-premise but still use the on-cloud services, nothing stops you from doing that.
No worries.
So now let's go to the good stuff. Let's go to the business scenarios. What are the business scenarios that we are helping customers today to achieve with our tool? So these business scenarios, we are just going to speak about a little bit about it. They're not that many in terms of complexity. It's more about what can we actually do. So let's start with one, which is a common scenario. So we have a lot of customers in energy, in oil and gas, and some of these customers, and in defense as well. So some of these customers have the KPI of actually be able to be foolproof, bulletproof actually, or missile proof, to being able to run their data, their processes, regardless of being connected or not connected.
Right. So pure cloud is not an option for them. They have distributed entities, offshore vessels, oil rigs, you name it.
Exactly. And let's put an example of the oil rig, but it can be a shipping container. It can be a cruise ship. It can be a submarine, a warship, whatever you want it. So let's take the example of the oil rig. On the oil rig is a hazardous environment. So you're going to have devices that are going to break, regardless of how good and robust they are. So if you think of this, the fact that you would be dependent on devices and to be able for the device to be able to synchronize back to the main ERP system in this case, and we chose SAP as a ERP system that is on land, you will be able to, with our product, so you can have our container-based product running on on-premise server in the vessel, because he has his own database, he has his own process flow, he has his own orchestration layer for the data. So you can actually build a solution on top of it. And that's what some of our customers are doing. They're building solutions on top of this. What is the advantage? Is that they will be having a small Linux server, because performance is everything. And you can have this running on a toaster size server if you want to. You're able to have this inside the container, inside such a small server, that it will enable you to have a redundancy of the device. One device breaks, the user goes to a hotspot within the vessel. It can synchronize directly with the data that is on the server on the vessel, and that will give him a great performance in terms of the life cycle of his process. But at the same time, depending on the bandwidth, depending on having connection, not connection, you can have a state-of-the-art REST API that will connect synchronously or asynchronously to your backend system. And
Yeah. And this is, I think this is a very important information and very important to understand. Neptune software can be your central platform, but the platform itself is distributed or can be distributed depending on your architecture, on your landscape, and depending on your use cases, right? And the single entities of this platform, of this distributed platform, work autonomously. That's the word, I believe.
That's the word. So that's, and if you think of, and again, we're going to use the ERP system as a SAP. What you're going to have is that you're going to have a gateway, and you're going to have a backend system there on LAN. So the gateway will give them ability to have a layer on top of your core data, where you're going to incorporate services and data from SAP, from the cloud, or from the prem, where you can even have users that only use these services directly from that. So what you can do is that even when we're running on our SAP dedicated component that's running inside SAP, not integrated, inside SAP, you have the ability to build the UI exactly with the same developer group, exactly with the same tool, to provide the unified UI, regardless of the end user being someone that is on a vessel that is completely disconnected from your backend, to someone that is actually on premise and is using it in the office.
Right. And I mean, we chose this kind of business scenario because it's easy to memorize and to picture, but it might as well be a technician, a plant maintenance technician, working in production without any connection for a certain amount of time.
So, but we don't want to restrict again to on-prem. So of course, if you think of again of the SAP scenario where you have ERP as an SAP, yes, of course, then you can use this on any cloud to leverage the different APIs from different clouds and still have your on-prem system and logic that you have so much invested on. But again, there is a thing called SAP Cloud Platform. SAP Cloud Platform has all of this software as a service products, cloud-based products from SAP that are pretty much in use. So what if we can actually run inside the SAP Cloud Platform? And we can run inside the SAP Cloud Platform using a Docker container on the cloud-friendly version of SAP Cloud Platform, and then seamlessly plug into the SAP API Business Hub and import any API that exists from the products that you might have, merge that with your on-premise SAP data, regardless of the stack. And again, we're talking about SAP language here a little bit. And then you can provide this, combine this into applications that are consumed directly, regardless of it's coming from the SAP Cloud Platform, regardless if it's coming directly from the backend. What you're going to have is a universal language where you're going to have all of your products, all of your processes, SAP and non-SAP, combined in one single point.
Right. This is amazing. And I mean, again, thinking about use cases, right? Imagine you're a sales guy on the road with your tablet, right? And yeah, you can get your material data out of your ECC system on-prem. You might use Salesforce in order to manage your customers. At the same time, you can do your travel expenses using Concur, SAP Concur in the cloud. Everything connected under one hood, one harmonized UI, one launchpad that is based on our platform.
Of course, and most interesting enough is that you're going to be using the same developer to do everything. So this degree of simplification, plus the fact that you can actually build your own APIs that do not necessarily need to have anything to do with SAP, and you can even expose that to be consumed. And if you want to use SAP Web IDE to build on top of those APIs, sure, you can. Yeah. You use your own UI tool, but ours is a very good one because it allows you to build these applications in a mobile directly that can work online and offline, can have any GitHub or Cordova plugin into the applications, push notifications, local notifications, everything out of the box and codeless way.
Right. So we do not restrict you in any way. but the central platform allows you to choose best of breed, as you said starting this webinar.
Exactly. So we're going for the best of breed. So to recap, what are the 3 main takeaways?
Number 1, you got to be agile, you got to be adaptive, and you got to be open.
Exactly. So this is the fact, this is the game changer. The fact that you are not locked into a service provider. You're going to pick and choose the best of breed and combine that into your existing landscape, your existing systems. Not replace, you're going to enhance it. So, and you're going to do this by using new tech. So
Right.
if you're going to use machine learning, if you're going to use augmented reality, it might seem too far-fetched, but I've seen a use case where, for instance, there is a bot that goes through a Twitter feed looking for hashtags, identify a potential customer for a car brand, where you're going to see the picture that the person took of the car you wanted. So AI will recognize not only the hashtag, it will recognize which car, which model, which exact color does the person want. It will respond automatically to the possible buyer of the car with an offer, a proposal for him to do a test drive, and at the same time we'll go back to the company's CRM system and add as a lead that that particular customer might want to buy that car with that spec. So in terms of what this turns around is that this kind of big ideas are not something that are something of the future. This is something that's part of our daily life today. So as a third takeaway,
big ideas can be implemented today. What we see when we talk to our customers, and we have a lot of customers with a big SAP footprint, they tell us, well, you know, big ideas, AI, IoT, those are the shiny new things, but oh, we're not ready yet. We don't have the landscape. We don't have the developers, the resources to do this. And you know what? We say, think again. You can do this. You can do this based on a platform that allows you to be flexible and to create lean solutions. So think big, think in big ideas, and implement the future today.
And you can insource, because you can convert any kind of developer you might have into a developer that can use Neptune as a tool to deliver all of this. And you can do that by a 3-day training. A 3-day training, you can enable any developer to be able to build the state-of-the-art applications that can be used for anything. So think of it, let us know. And one thing that we are left today, so just to wrap up, is that better than us saying about it is our customers. Exactly. So Neptune have been organizing every summer here in Oslo, and it's a free invitation to anyone that wants to participate. Summit. The Neptune Summit targets specifically one thing. Our customers will be able to speak their own words without any kind of control from us. So they will be able to come, speak, state their mind, how are they using our product. If you are interested in coming to Oslo, this is a free event that you can subscribe from our website directly. It's going to be on the 13th of June in Oslo, in a location close to the Oslo Opera House. And it's a magic event, really good, by the fjord, and with a very interesting statements from our customers. If you have any questions about that, go to our YouTube channel and check previous editions.
Right. It's going to be great. We'll be there. And yeah, hopefully we got you pumped up. And yeah, visit our summit, talk to our customers, ask them directly. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get it.
If you have any questions, please feel free, and you should have done it throughout our presentation. Feel free to write the comments here on the chat, and we'll be able to answer to you directly on the Neptune community.
Thanks for joining us today. See you soon.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.